Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is Wednesday morning, October 8th. It won't be morning for you this video will be up tonight, probably about 9 p.m. That's when I usually put them up. There's been huge bombshell sort of things going on. I made a video yesterday that's not getting very many views, and I assume it's because I stupidly made a Journey Series video public, which meant that got all the notifications, which, is not good, because this thing with Candace Owens and Turning Point USA is getting great. But I covered it, and it's kind of a two-part thing. So if you missed that video, it's there. But she made these allegations against Turning Point. She really went all in on them, and all of it. And then they responded. She read a group chat where Charlie says that he's no longer going to be associated with Israel. He wants to cut ties with the pro-Israeli, shilling for Israel. He had a $2 million donor, a year donor, who said they weren't going to support him unless he cut ties with Tucker Carlson, this whole thing. And so Turning Point has responded, but they just so suck at it so bad. And I started covering this last night because it was so great. Like Turning Point being so fucking ridiculously bad at this. And Candace Owens going after them. And we're going to get to that. I have a few funny things to do with Trump. But I wanted to start here because there's two things about this story that I don't think anybody else is talking about. I don't know because I'm watching other people. But I may have mentioned these in passing, but I don't think I have. But really, these are the two most important pieces to this, moving forward with the Charlie Kirk story. So I just want to show you this. This is from yesterday's video where Candace Owens going after Turning Point's lame attempt to address and do damage control here.
Was a Turning Point USA donor, and I would say very much one of the white knights in this. The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, I think they're going to kill me. Okay? He did not express that to me. So I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people who I think are good will be inspired to come forward with that. Now, again, those conversations I had were off record. I honor that. If I say it's off record, it stays off record. But I'm hoping that watching what I am doing and feeling the energy that is rising across the world for people who want to know what the heck happened on 9/10, that, they will be brave and they will say, yeah, Charlie did the day before he died think that he was going to be killed, and maybe tell us, who is they? Well, for once and for all, who is they? Who is...
Oh, because the A has to be Israel. So she later goes on to say that she thinks this is a assassination attempt like JFK that involved a foreign government, which, that one, the foreign government was, people thought about it being Cuba, but also people thought about it being Israel. But she certainly thinks about it being Israel. And she says over and over again that she never said she's accusing Israel. She says that a number of times. She uses the word kill Charlie Kirk with Israel in the sentence. And so let me switch over a voiceover. Okay, so what I want to talk about here, the first piece, is why they would do this in such a public manner, right? So first of all, Charlie Kirk, his story, the story arc has long since disappeared from mainstream media. I don't think Fox is covering this at all, very little. And MSNBC and CNN have no interest in it anymore. And so it's a dead story. And, it had a shelf life of a couple weeks. Like I said, all these things do. But people are obsessed with this. I'm getting lots of views still on my coverage of this thing. Candace Owens is getting lots of views. Turning Point USA is getting no views. So, because they're not covering it, right? They're not talking about the what really happened aspect of it. So, but to start with, why do it in such a public fashion, right? So if the goal is to kill Charlie Kirk and stop the Turning Point movement, right, then you could have done it privately. And you could do it in a way, they have lots of ways to kill people. So there's videos out there where the CIA had a heart attack gun. They had a gun that fired a dart, and it would leave a small mark. And it would induce a heart attack within a short period of time after. It was like a frozen dart, and it would melt as it went through you. Like it, this was unveiled in front of, like, Congress, right? Like we know, and that was in the 60s. It's like a black and white video. You can find it. But I'm just giving you an example of ways that they can kill you. I mean, who knows what they have in terms of technology to kill people and do the things that induce heart attacks. Like if he died of a heart attack, what would everybody blame? The people who are upset by this, right? The people who still care about this story are Christian right-wing people, Charlie Kirk people, who are, these dumb fuckistan people, these people who bought into his bullshit, and people in the truth community. And so those people would immediately blame the vax, right? Like that would be this thing. I don't know if he took it or not. I don't know what his position on that was. But that would be a whole debate about this, him having a heart attack. Maybe they really killed him. Was it an assassination? These things. And that would be, a small amount of people. Like I wouldn't be covering this because I wouldn't even know about it. I didn't even know who he was, right? So, a small amount of people that were Charlie Kirk followers that would be upset by this, right? And so they could have killed him in any other way than in a public stadium forum, which, would create chaos. There would be a compromised crime scene, and there would be a patsy that a number of people, the people with Charlie Kirk people and people in the truth community, were never going to accept that story. Like they know all this going into it, right? And so if the goal was to kill Charlie Kirk, there was better ways to do it and get away with it and do it in a way where, it isn't viewed as a public assassination of a political figure. People who acknowledge that he really was a political figure, but those who think he's spiritual, which is a very small amount of people, are calling it a martyrdom. He's been martyred. But doing it in a way where, so many people watched blood gushing out of the guy's neck. And whether you think it's a hologram or not, or whether you think it's a prosthetics, or you think he's, whatever it is, that's what people saw. That's the official story. And most people believe that the guy was shot in the neck and died right in front of people. And it might be like the only time that they've ever seen somebody killed or dying or like that, right? So it's very graphic, sort of like the JFK situation, which was clearly, I mean, you could see they didn't have the kind of technology we have now. Like no one's thinking JFK didn't survive that headshot. So why do it publicly? Why do it in such a graphic manner where this is what people saw? Like the shock of it. Well, Trump was being Epsteined at the time. I mean, there's things to do with Israel. There's always the stories with Israel and Palestine. But the number one benefactor, and I said this day one, was Trump, right, to start with. That they were, he was getting Epsteined in a way that probably would have done irreparable damage to him and his base. And he's, his association with Epstein, they just made this birthday book public. And Trump is, after saying that it was made up, that the letter wasn't something that he would do, and he doesn't draw pictures, but he never denied it, right? In a way that could be, seen as, blatantly caught as lying if he has to testify because he's suing people for a birthday note that's creepy as fuck, and he's, and the whole book is creepy. And the Democrats were about to release, not just Democrats, some of the Republicans were about to release all these files and all this stuff. So that killed that story. And not only killed that story for a couple of weeks for everybody, but the people who were Epstein people are now obsessed with Charlie Kirk's assassination. So you've taken the Epstein people and people who are covering Epstein, people like Candace Owens, people like me, people like, I mean, anybody who was into the truther type narratives are now covering Charlie Kirk's assassination because that's what people care about. The people who would be most upset about or turning on Trump over the Epstein thing. The problem with it is that, with people not believing the official story, I mean, it's a short-lived distraction for Trump. I mean, clearly this is done as a distraction because they decided to do it publicly. The problem with it for Trump is that it's his FBI and it's Kash Patel and it's, all the people associated with Trump who are not coming up with that are coming up with a bullshit sort of CIA, FBI story, right? CIA story. A profile of a patsy that people who were upset about Epstein are not going to buy. This guy did it. That this guy is responsible for Charlie Kirk's assassination. They have other, ideas. And so Candace Owens and the people like that, all the people that are into what she's doing and are pushing this idea that there's more to this. Joe Rogan's hinted at it, these kind of people. So the people who are looking for answers, and those people are also Epstein people, are going to look at Trump saying, why are you looking for the truth? Why are you accepting this? Why is fucking Kash Patel totally, Kash Patel just, after tweeting and being on these podcasts and saying that the FBI had the Epstein files and Epstein didn't commit suicide, then he came out and said, yeah, he did commit suicide and there's nothing in the files. And so nobody is thinking, Kash Patel is like, he's done right after that he played himself, right? And so, this isn't good for Trump, right? This is a short-lived distraction for Trump, but now he's a part of the feds who are shutting down this story. So, again, doing it publicly benefited him and in the short term, but it certainly isn't doing that now. Like the way that they've characterized the story, and they've convicted this guy. His wife's convicted this guy. Turning Point's convicted this guy. Trump and so many of the Trumpers have convicted this guy. Fox News. They're all pretending this guy has been tried and that he had a fair trial and a public trial, and there was a mountain of evidence against him, and he's the guy who did it. And everything they have is circumstantial. It's they should have more for something that when they have a patsy, right? Usually they kill the patsy, which would have made it easier, but now they got this thing hanging over their head where the guy's still alive. And, it's clearly just a bullshit story. So the other piece is Israel's the most likely suspect to the people who still are interested in this case. And there's two parts to this. One, when Candace Owens gets into this and she says, basically somebody Judased him on Turning Point. So, that's an interesting narrative, right? For something that, is looking faker and faker as time goes on. But it's still, it's an interesting, in terms of the show, it's interesting turn of events that we haven't seen before. A former insider going ballistic on a bunch of, low testosterone dopes, which I'll show you. It's kind of hilarious. These guys can't fucking, And so Israel is the prime suspect because it just is, and then maybe people at Turning Point. And, of course, his wife is a disaster and a nightmare. And a lot of people are like, what the fuck about her, right? WTF, right? So the other piece to this is all of a sudden you can criticize Israel, right? Like you just couldn't do it. There's these groups that were considered protective groups, and you couldn't criticize Israel, and you couldn't say a lot of the things that are being said now. And nobody could do it. Now these kids are protesting on college campuses, and Trump is trying to shut it down, and that's another thing, right? So those people who believe that this is Israel feels like Trump has these. I mean, Trump made the mistake of, stupidly posting a picture of Charlie Kirk with an Israeli flag behind him when, people were already being suspicious, and Charlie Kirk was starting to disavow Israel for the way that he was being attacked by them. For however real that Charlie Kirk, the character of Charlie Kirk is, that was part of his storyline. like going into this, he and all the things that he was doing that were that show that Israel has a clear motive, and that people think it's Israel. People believe that that's a possibility, or they think it's Israel, and that's horrible for Trump because now of course, Trump's associated with Israel in a bad way. But you can criticize Israel, and all these things that people have believed in the truth community, but couldn't say, are now being said. Like all of a sudden, you would have been, if not deplatformed, you would have like lost your, whatever social media accounts or whatever. Like you would have been deleted, and you would have got a community guidelines or whatever what it was. Like people knew this, I knew this. You could, not even give like mild criticism of Israel, not just being called anti-Semitic, which also happened, but I mean just in terms of the platforms themselves. Now all of a sudden everybody can criticize Israel, even though Trump and the Trumpers are against it, and it's being called like basically hate speech by them, but no one buys that shit, and the platforms are letting you do it. So these are big changes in policy, big changes in the way people view things, right? And so, these are the questions. Why was it done public? And why is Israel being targeted as the number one suspect amongst people who, evangelical Christians, who were some of the last? I mean, Charlie Kirk was one of the last people that was shamelessly defending Israel, and he was taking the shekels. He was like completely sheckled up, right? He got sheckled, and so, and that's I got some comments at the end of this video I want to get to, that people are talking about the word shekels. Shekels is a great word. I get into that in the clips you're about to see, and then I'll read comments at the end of this thing. There are people liking the term shekels. Shekels. So Charlie Shekels. I mean, he was Charlie Shekels, and then all of a sudden he wasn't Charlie Shekels, and he's dead. And they're doing this publicly in a way that clearly is orchestrated. Like it's there's lots of moving parts to something like that. And whether you believe he's still alive, it's fake or whatever, it's still done public. Like the public just watched a guy who is a political activist who, is claimed to be a really devoted Christian, get shot in the neck, and then have this, his wife come out and all that weird shit that she did. And then and we're still waiting on the 666 or 666 post on Instagram, which I forgot to check this morning. And then, the whole thing about the organization and just being complicit in the cover-up, and then the way that this is being portrayed, the whole Candace Owens element of this thing. But why was it done in public, and why all of a sudden are people talking about Israel? Because, people don't want to pay, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, exorbitant amounts of money for somebody else's war and defense and all these things. Like Israel is parasiting off America, and American politicians are bought and sold by them. They have to sign a pledge to defend Israel. If they don't, Israel lobby goes after them and politically, and they end up, the media and all these things. And now that's just being talked about. Netanyahu is a totally unlikable person, and now that's everyone's there with that, and you have the left and the right who are against them. Why? Why is that happening? It seems all very intentional, right? And so I have a few things to cover on Trump. These were video clips that I did yesterday before the stuff with Turning Point and Candace Owens got real. So then I started doing that. That's great. And I got a little bit more to get to, some clips to make today about it. But these are the things that people should be wondering about. This is intentional. This is part of the psychological operation. So to make you witness, this assassination attempt, whether you think it's real or fake, the majority of people think it's real. And then all the other aspects of it, why do it that way? Why set it up when the obvious target of the obvious suspect is Israel, right? Like Israel and people at Turning Point USA, who are, as Candace Owens is accusing them of laundering money and wanting Charlie's seed, and that somebody Judased them, right? So if that's, that's all part of the narrative, and people are feeling that, right? The people who care about this story now, that's where they're at, and those people are important to Trump and to the whole, not just his base, but all these things. And so, all right, let's get into it here. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So today is still October 7th. I don't know, something about this day is, it seems to be a big day for some peoples, mainly Trump, and we'll show you that in a bit. So this guy,
Remember, I wrote about Osama bin Laden exactly 1 year ago, 1 year before he blew up the World Trade Center. And I said, you got to watch Osama bin Laden. And the fake news would never let me get away with that statement unless it was true. But I said,
yeah, that's not true. Like no one gave a shit about him back then, right? People loved Trump back then. 2001, Trump was on The fucking Apprentice. And he could have made a big deal about this. He could have said all that stuff. You know, like this is just totally revisionist history. Plus, it's not, it's a bullshit story anyway, right?
1 year before, to Pete Hegseth, I said 1 year before, where's Pete? In the book, I wrote, whatever the hell the title, I can't tell you. But I can tell you there's a page in there devoted to the fact that I saw somebody named Osama bin Laden, and I didn't like it, and you got to take care of him. They didn't do it. A year later, he blew up the World Trade Center, so I got to take a little credit because nobody else is going to give it to me. You know the old story?
Yeah, no one's going to give you credit. He's just fucking senile as fuck, right? I mean, it's just messed up. So the year would have been 2000. He doesn't know the title of his own book, and he devoted a page to it. I don't think in the book, right? But either way, we all knew about the guy. So when it happened, the first thing I said, because I was yet to be this kind of a truther, is I said, I bet Al-Qaeda did it. Because we were told that over and over again. I barely watched the news back then, and I knew about Al-Qaeda. And we were all programmed to believe before they even proved it, because this is how they program you. And so it's a silly thing. It's not even true. I mean, he's just an absolute piece of shit. But that's Trump. All right, so she's on 665 posts. I don't know if she's ever going to post again. Because I know that I'm not the only person who noticed this. Right? I'm sure they know. Let's refresh it and see. Kaboom, still 665. So I've been watching this for like 3 days. And so this last post was, does it say on there? 4 days ago. She posts a lot, right? I mean, she posts a bunch of times after he died. And she's not doing anything right now. She's just tagging. Like she's not coming out and all those things. She's really an Instagram person. And, she's kind of stuck now because she's right here. She's got to make like 2 or 3 posts at once so people can't see this. Someone can't get her on the 666 thing. And I don't care about it, but I think it's funny. So there was that. Then this one. Israel stops Greta Thunberg's Gaza boat. How dare you? How dare you? And there, this is where AI is, AI's true purpose. Imagine having your tax dollars used to fund some other country's bullshit. Must be infuriating. Israel had to pay for 473 plane tickets to fly Greta and her friends home. As Israeli taxpayer, why am I supposed to pay for flights for those European idiots? Yeah, really? You want to go that route, right? As an American taxpayer, I don't want to pay for shit for you guys, right? Not a big fan of you guys altogether. And certainly I don't want to pay for any other country. None of us do. And so start parasiting off of us, right? And stop doing genocides, and maybe Greta won't show up on your doorstep. Okay. To find out who rules over you, find out who Fetterman will put on a suit for. Trump inauguration? Nope. Netanyahu's speech? Yep. Look at them all standing and applauding. There they are. Still doesn't look good. Okay, so YouTube you can put out ads for them, like non-video ads. I see it happens a lot, like alerts. I see stuff from New York Post and Fox News. They do it a lot. They're all both owned by Rupert Murdoch. Other people do it, right? So it'll go in your feed, and it'll look like maybe the video will be associated with it, but usually it's something like this. Since the important events of October 7th, 2023, that saw families ripped apart, children torn from their parents' arms, innocent people shot and killed and raped, I have been resolved to returning all the hostages home and ensuring the total destruction of Hamas, so these horrific acts may never be repeated. These unspeakable scenes have been seared into our memories, and we will never forget. So both he and J.D. Vance were, I don't know, honoring this day. Now, we kind of still honor 9/11. Not so many other events, right? I mean, they're going to do this with Charlie Kirk until a Democrat's in there. And, he was certainly not great. But at least he was an American. And, we've paid $30 million for this war. Billion, I'm sorry. And, most of us are pretty over it. We were over it before the war. And what about the, 200,000 Palestinian children? Or the 600,000 Palestinian people in Gaza? Or all the Palestinians who have lost their lives because of Israel? I mean, Jesus Christ, you guys. I mean, it's just like abhorrent. And, they're pushing this thing here. So, this guy got into the act. On the second anniversary of this terrible terrorist attack of October 7th, we will remember all the innocent people brutally murdered by Hamas and we continue to work towards President Trump's plans to bring the remaining hostages home and build a lasting peace for all. Vice President J.D. Vance. So Fox News put this out, right? Fox News, Rupert Murdoch is a big supporter of Israel. I mean, his whole thing. But again, there's a genocide that's happened in Palestine because of this. And the lack of attention for that, or, just a side comment, like how many, and I'm not saying anybody should be killed in this way. I don't know what happened on that day. I think Hamas is a Israeli asset, all that stuff. But, if you're talking about, I think 1,500 Jewish people were captured or killed on that day, according to the official story. And, the Palestinians, it's at least over 50,000, maybe as many as 600,000, and their lives are devastated. Their whole everything. They blew the shit out of the place. I mean, it's like rubble, right? It's just, the infrastructure. They'll never rebuild that country the way it was. And so, I mean, this is just so bad. And we're paying for it, and we don't want it. Like, at the very least, we should have a say in that, right? But hopefully this will be part of the, next election cycle. Okay, so I just got, today's still Tuesday, October 7th, 7:49 tonight. I just got done, or earlier, 4 or 5 hours ago, I put my video up, which is, that's not it there. It's up here, and it's going to be released tomorrow. Candace Owens slams TPUSA and Trump and some other stuff. So I just finished the first video with her, and she already put out another video, right? And you see she already has 500,000 views 2 hours ago. And it's TPSU has responded. Now, I looked at this after I was done with the video, and I wanted to cover this tomorrow. Charlie Kirk is the first Christian American martyr. It'll probably be the following day. Like the video that'll be up tomorrow on the 8th, I may or may not get to that. But the reason I want to cover it was, it's getting no views. So here, you go back to this one. So I covered this today. This video was with Charlie, with this girl. He's, they're making it look like this is one of the videos that makes him look good. It fucking doesn't. But it has 332,000 views. And this one was with Megyn Kelly. This was released 6 hours ago. It only has 10,000 views. Megyn Kelly doing some sort of a Charlie Kirk impression. The martyr one, only 11,000 views. People don't give a shit about that martyr stuff. They don't think Charlie is a martyr, and they're not into it, right? You only get 11,000 views for that 5 hours ago. Maybe they'll get 20 if they're lucky. And this video is bringing in views. I'll talk about that in a second. Portland Antifa attacks independent journalists. Only 5,000 views in 4 hours, right? And so it might go up more. But then this one here, the leaked text messages from Candace Owen, 72,000 views in 3 hours, right? And so, that's the one that might bring in some more views to their channel. But this other shit is just not working, right? Like this channel's really sad. I think some of these views might be, they might even be buy-in views at this point. We can find out that later. But here's the video here, and look at the comments here. Like, none of them are supportive of this guy or Blake, and Andrew. They're not supportive of them. This is kind of great. It's so sad that Charlie cannot speak for himself. Our country is not the same without Charlie Kirk. Truth will come out. May all involved in the murder be brought to justice. What has that ever happened? You think the truth comes out with these things? It's not coming out. Like, where what planet are you living on? Wish Charlie was still here to speak for himself. They're all saying the same thing. The truth will come out. Charlie would fight for the truth. Candace Owen, I just watched the beginning of her thing, and she was saying how she had a dream with Charlie Kirk, and he said he was betrayed. So we'll cover that later, tomorrow. I'll get to that. Charlie would fight for the truth. The truth shall set you free, R.I.P. Charlie. More of this, please. Just answer the questions as best you can. Don't skate around or sugarcoat anything. If you can't comment because of the ongoing investigation, just say that ignoring it makes it louder. It's a fucking... These guys are they have a good thing here. They have a subject that people are interested in. This is the only thing people are interested in, right? They're not interested in him being a martyr. They're not interested in any of that other bullshit. They want to know about his fucking murder, and they want to know about something other than the official story, which they're not believing in. And these guys just fumble it. For 4 minutes, they say nothing. That's all I got to watch so far. I don't doubt for 1 second that Charlie was openly truthful and transparent about any of his feelings about anything. This is the most valuable trait of a human being, and I desperately long to have a relationship with people like this, especially in a world where people are inclined to say whatever will get them ahead. Yeah, he was fundamentally dishonest. So there was that. This is problematic. Andrew is excited the truth has come out there, but then only partial texts are revealed, and not even the full context of the thread. I fire off texts to my close friends and spouse emotionally. Candace is ruining much of the movement. Context is everything. Because this person is must be maybe Israeli shill. Like, that's probably what that is. So why not have the conversation debate with Candace as Charlie would have had? So they're saying invite Candace on and talk about these things. But they don't want to do that because, it would actually bring some fucking viewers over. But these guys are just abysmal. Like, they're fucking abysmal. I'll show you a little bit of this, right? Okay, so what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and forth. I was just saying to my wife, well, let's watch these guys for a second here.
I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about
On public? Where on public are they going around, Andrew? What the fuck? Dude, you're just not up for this, bro. Bro, you're just... Pass this fucking torch to somebody. Let's watch it again. Holy... Talk about fucking not being up for something.
I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made.
Jesus Christ, you're so fucking rattled, bro. Bro, you're shook. And Blake is even worse. Like, Blake isn't like...
known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go...
You shared it with what people, right? So you shared it with people?
Into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say...
Wait a minute. You're excited that the truth is out there? You could have brought the truth out there. Like, this is why didn't you bring it out? You shared it with people already.
The reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and
You shared it with other people, though, bro, right? You probably didn't share it because you guys don't know what the text message said, and I don't know if they'll read it again here. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully they do. But the section that Candace Owen was saying where is number one, they she had they had Charlie had a $2 million a year donor who was pro-Israel. Now this guy came out and said Israel wasn't donating any money to Charlie. So Charlie was shekels, and I got a bunch of comments. I'm going to get to the end of this video. Hopefully I'll remember tomorrow. I have them up. I've saved them. And all the people were just applauding my making shekels into a verb, getting sheckled, right? And, I was thinking about this before I read the comments. What a great word shekels is. It's one of my favorite words. I mean, all money should be called shekels. I just think it's, the right word. But you guys got shekels from Israel to give them unconditional support with no hedging and no any of these things. Multi-million dollars, right? They have a, something that might be a $20,000 to $30,000 payroll, and then whatever other expenses. And according to Candace Owens, these guys are laundering money through construction projects and shit like that. People are, whatever it is. She's saying that there's we'll get into that in a moment because I'm going to go back and forth here, that Charlie was betrayed, right? So this is epic. So you came out and said Charlie wasn't getting money for Israel, but as soon as Charlie criticized Israel for lots of things, which was verbalized on Tucker Carlson and with Megyn Kelly and privately with Candace Owen, the Israel lobby, these donors started to cut him off and call him names. And so he said that he was done with them. He was cutting ties with them, which fucks you guys because you guys are running out of money. Your show sucks, and you're not wanting to go with that. That's why you didn't say anything, right? You guys get that because they need the shekels. Like they're hurting for shekels.
It felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already
Bowling for shekels.
public. I wanted to not betray my friend's trust in that way.
Whose friend? Whose friend you're not betraying? Charlie's? Like so you think Candace betrayed him by making this public, but you're happy the truth is out there?
But I did share it with some people in government because
That's the best way, because government is really private, and you shared it with people in government, not your office. Listen to this motherfucker. He shared this with the government, this private message of Charlie, disavowing Israel after 2 days before his death. And you don't think that's a factor? Somebody pulled $2 million from his, some donor pulled $2 million, and they don't think that's a factor? Like people were motivated to shut the guy up? What if he came out and disavowed Israel publicly, which now is out there?
it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in that first...
Why does that have anything to do with the text messages?
In those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently.
They probably stifled it since Trump is completely owned by Israel. They probably shut it down, right, and hoped that it wouldn't come out publicly, right, bro?
But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have
Blake.
this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care, we're not investigating every lead, we're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just like, sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else...
No, you guys want to convict this fucking patsy, right? So here's the first thing. Well, we'll let Blake talk in a second, then I got a joke coming. And I can't wait to say. But I need to wait for the right time here. So we got to hear from Blake first. And so Erika Kirk already forgave the guy who wasn't convicted yet. And there's circumstantial evidence, and like anybody, these are all conspiracy theorists, people who don't trust the official story, don't trust fake news, are not trusting Trump as much as they used to because of his Jeffrey Epstein things, and are turning on Israel. So this is your audience, and this was partly why Charlie was turning on Israel, because his audience was, and so were his contemporaries. And so you guys want this guy dead and buried, this patsy, so you can move on. Otherwise, you'd be talking about it in a way like, we don't trust what the government's doing. If you guys came out and said that, and that we have, like, for one, Israel's a suspect. right? Any these donors, any of these people, Mossad, they kill people. Like they're much more equipped to kill people. And Charlie could have done irreparable damage by turning on Israel, especially now when Trump is brokering this fucking bullshit deal over there, right? Which I definitely want to get into. I was going to get into tomorrow on this video, but the one that you're going to see this video in. I got some stuff from Morning Joe. I might cover tomorrow, maybe the next day. But either way, it's things were going south for Israel, and so they're a total suspect. Trump, this has benefited him, and Candace Owens thinks one of you guys, one of you guys Judased him. She didn't use those words, right? And so, I mean, that's where we're at, bro.
I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this.
Yeah.
And I've certainly stated publicly the reason
Okay, this guy seems a little bit gay. I've said this before. A lot of these guys seem gay. They're very low testosterone, right? And so Candace Owens is a fucking barracuda. Like she goes after it. She's a pit bull. These guys have like one nut between them. They're like sharing like a small little testicle. Like they're low testosterone and they're fucking boring as fuck. You guys are in a shit fight, right? Like in Avatar where that fucking Marine guy comes in and says it always ends up in a shit fight, right? Whatever happens, it ends up in a shit fight. You're in a shit fight right now. And you guys are like, you get fucking feces is getting thrown at you and you're like fucking, I don't know about this. You're uninteresting and you can't carry this fucking show. You're incompetent. And by the view count, which I already showed you guys, this is the only thing that people are interested in. And by the comments, they're not thinking the truth is out there. They're believing that the truth is being hidden. People aren't buying this fucking patsy guy. People on the right wing aren't buying it. People on the left wing, they don't give a shit, but they probably would like to see this thing go on. Just because it, I guess maybe not for the distraction. But either way, people on the right wing don't buy this kind of shit. We've seen it over and over again. People in the truth community don't buy it. And so your audience is made up of those types of people. They're not buying this bullshit patsy fucking guy. So you guys, as long as you're supporting that theory and you go on like business as usual, like, and you just suck at your job, right?
I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
Exactly, for the person. What about the organization that did it? Which one of you guys Judased them, right? All right, let's go to Candace Owens and see what she has to say. Okay, so, Jesus Christ. Before we get to Candace Owens, so today's Wednesday, October 8th. I started this last night. So I made a video. I put Candace Owens in the title, and I just looked at some of the comments. I wasn't really going through them. I mean, I wasn't answering them like but I just saw some come up. And people were complaining about Candace Owens and saying she's a shill. Let's see if I can find that. Which is something that I talk about all the time with these people. This person says, Candace Owens is controlled op like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Ian Carroll, Russell Brand, and other alt media voice with a big following. The end game is digital ID, one world governed, new world order, and a bunch of other bullshit that Alex Jones and these motherfuckers have been saying for years, right? That's not what this fucking video is about. The last video that somebody wrote here, are you saved? Have you received what Jesus Christ did for you? He didn't do shit for me. Well, at least not in this life. I guess he did maybe something because I was Catholic for a while. The question received is a yes or no answer, but it almost never does. Some of the most common responses are, I'm doing the best I can and praise for saying fuck you. The thing goes on forever, this person. It has nothing to do with my video. And I gotta ban this motherfucker. And just quotes from the Bible, all this kind of bullshit. That's not why I'm here, though. So, in terms of what I was about to say. Candace Owens, in terms of all these things, whether people like her or not, whether you think if she's a shill or not, whether you think she's controlled opposition or not, like, there's no opposition or control anymore. There's no anything. Like, you think that there's some kind of a battle here. Trump is rolling out martial law, and, they were censoring people under Biden. They just went to these social media companies and threaten them, and they don't even need to do that shit, right? People are 100% controlled by the system because we don't have another option. If right now there was no food in the grocery stores, no electricity, no running water, no anything, like everything just shut down. You didn't have electricity, no gas, all the gas stations were closed, and you didn't have a job and money was worthless. And even if it wasn't worthless, there's no stores to spend it on. The system shut down right now. How many people you think would survive that? Right? When you have whatever food you have in your house, whatever amount of food that you have, and then what are you going to do? Like, it's just over because people don't know how to do anything anymore. And so that battle was lost long ago. You're 100% dependent on the system. And whatever they have to do to keep this system going, no matter how evil it is and no matter how much you think it's, distasteful for you, you're going to go along with it. The only problem is when the system does break down, and then people will run to whatever deal they give you just to survive. Like when you have a choice between living out on your own, which you won't really have that choice, but like let's say that existed, or going to some FEMA camp, 30-minute, 15-minute city, these little mini apartment things. If you have those choices, certainly the kids today, they'll all go to do that because they already need like that. That's the amount of room they need to live in the cyber world. And so if you have your choice between starving and living out your own or some fucking shitty deal that most of us who are, are above the age of 40 would find, impossible to take, at least right now, when there's mass depopulation going on and your choice is death or these other things. Many people won't even get that choice, right? They'll just, start killing people. And so, there's going to be massive die-offs. There's going to be like real shit happening because the system is not sustainable. But once you commit to this system as a population, as a humanity, you become like zoo animals. And so everybody's compromised because we're all 100% dependent on this system. And so like the things that are happening now that are interesting is Candace Owens is going after Israel, whether that's fake, whether that's controlled opposition, whatever it is. Tucker Carlson is, and they're saying legitimate things, making legitimate points, regardless of who's paying them or what their motivation is. And for Candace Owens, this thing with Turning Point USA is really interesting. In terms of, we've never seen something like this before in this show. Is it going to lead to anything? No, of course not. I've already said that. But this part is entertaining and it's kind of interesting. That's why I'm covering it and people are interested in it. The only thing that I have to say here that's of value in terms of all of that stuff is finding divinity within you, and no one wants to hear that shit. So you're fucked anyway, right? Like if that's the solution, humanity isn't going to take it right now. They're not going to take maybe if I find divinity within me, then I'll, become something and I'll be able to navigate through this difficult time. But that's not what people want to hear, and that's not what people are, predisposed to do. We've seen this over and over again. People want drama, they want bullshit, and these are things. And this is dramatic bullshit. So, this is why I'm covering it. Anyways, let's get into it here. Okay, she starts off here talking about
Yes. Who will succeed Charlie Kirk? Who shall inherit the Turning Point throne? You know what, you guys? The best part of all of this for me is unlike those ill-begotten heirs on the show, I have a 0% interest in Charlie's empire. I am not motivated by the idea of carrying on.
So this is bad. Like, so she sets it up like they all want to get his spot. And those two guys aren't up to the task, right? It's for people who really were attached to him, right? Like, this is always a difficult thing. We had succession in the Sage-Mark system where people loved the previous master of the system. And they just, they thought of the divine person based in that person's personality. And so divinity, when you rise to high levels of divinity, you express it different than other people. Like you could be on the same level as someone else and you express it differently. Like each person has their specific personality type, configuration, and ego. And the divinity is the same, but the expression of it and the kind of person are different. So, people have this with whatever, like, when you're some kids' parents get divorced, and the kids reject maybe the first couple people the mom dates or the dad dates, and then finally, after getting people they don't like and being prejudiced against the first couple anyway, they're more accepting of a third or a fourth person, right? So the people stepping in for Charlie Kirk right away are fucked. And so, and Erika's just not up to the task. I haven't seen anyone over there that, and not that I thought Charlie was great, but in terms of his audience, they don't compare to him, right? So she tells a story in which, she has a couple of these things where she shows she has intuition. And I know about this because I experienced it myself and know lots of other people that have. But she had a very vivid dream with one of her producers being pregnant, and 10 days later the woman found out she was pregnant, and Candace dreamt that it was a boy. She provides the text message here, which, that dream was just freaking vivid. So then she said she had another dream.
And on their way out of this world. I similarly, like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. And it was the immediate sense I got, actually. And I don't.
So of course he had to be betrayed. Like, they can't pull something like this off without inside people. Again, is he really dead? Is he not? Whatever. Like, all these things. Whatever the thing is, whatever the reality of the thing is, in terms of the official story. And this is what these guys are battling over, right? So Candace Owens is more of a truther and more of going with what was happening with Charlie, right? Like I said, there's always these different threads, but her threads are the ones that people want to listen to, right? Her threads are the ones that people are interested in. Her last video got 2 million views. I mean, as last time I checked, it was already at 2 million views, maybe more. This one's already at 500-something thousand. Turning Point is giving 79,000, and a bunch of those people are Candace Owens people going over there and saying, nut up, right? Start telling the truth. So, this is really bad for them. Like, I love this kind of stuff because regardless of, what really is true here, what really went on with Charlie, this is a battle for the Turning Point audience. As much as she said she doesn't want to be Charlie's successor, she has a wider audience and a more vibrant audience than Turning Point does. And they have 470 some employees or whatever it was, I said in my last video. They have 400 plus, like 450 plus employees over there.
Know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there is nothing and
It's got to be more than one person.
And that is going to stop the truth from coming out, and it is going to have international consequences.
She's talking that there's a Judas in there. There's a Judas in the house. All right, so let's go back to those two dweebs.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately.
That's convenient. So you had an alibi, right, bro?
To be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware that in my role as spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, that things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation. All right? But I will weigh in specifically.
They're not going to. I mean, it would be impact investigation when they're trying to railroad somebody, and you have belief in who? Like the federal government, the people who are notably. I mean, think about how Trump talked about the FBI, and of course now Kash Patel's heading it, but that guy has no credibility. Look at how they mishandled the Jeffrey Epstein thing. And regardless of any of that stuff, your viewers aren't on board. Your job isn't to deal with the investigation. It's to deal with the truth about what Charlie felt or whatever he was doing and take the company in that direction and act in a way that was going to actually preserve what's going on here. And you guys have fucked that up. Like people think of you as like the enemy, right? Somebody who's some like bean counter who's come in and taken over for the talent and is posing himself in here, and you should just hire somebody else then. Like you should hire an outside person to come in and you should like someone like who's acting like Candace Owens and talking about the thing the way it is. If you can't talk about it because you're going to affect the investigation, you suck at this job anyway. I mean, get some feedback. You're not up for the task. You're fucking boring. You suck at articulating your points. You just absolutely suck on this about this thing. Speaking of sucking, your gay buddy there, your closeted Christian buddy there. I mean, you guys are testosterone-less. You're like beta males, you know, who somehow like, oh, I'm going to be on a show. No, you're not going to be on a show. You're going to kill a show. You're going to destroy a show.
Specifically on this issue of Israel, because I know there's a lot of fascination, and I just want to say that, you know, we have to let free speech be our North Star here, okay? Charlie was adamantly free speech, and I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers, all right?
Well, you've been doing that. You've been trying to shut people up and saying to move on, and you're calling people crazy conspiracy theorists, and you could have came out and said, you know, Charlie was cutting ties with Israel right before he died. He was upset, and he felt like they were trying to impugn his free speech, and we're going to take a financial hit, but that's what we have to do because that's what he wished for, because we have messages from him. You didn't have to say anything. How's that going to affect the investigation? That's going to do nothing. Like, this text has nothing to do with the investigation, other than that 2 days before, some guy pulled $2 million from Charlie Kirk, and he was going to have Candace Owens on the show.
And I will say that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times. And I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel. What was he going to say? And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, you know, in the wider movement, about his wrestle that he was going. And so I just want to say, like, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it's
not complicated or nuanced. He was, according to Megyn Kelly, deeply hurt. He expressed himself publicly and in these texts, and he said he was going to cut ties with Israel. That's what he said. Like, you guys keep on saying this is what Charlie wanted, right? 2 days before. It wasn't like fucking a week before. He didn't disavow what he said. He said in a public text with apparently a rabbi and some other people, I'm cutting ties with fucking Israel, because they are threatening me and they're trying to force me to say things, and they're compromising my free speech. Whatever it was, I mean, this is what he was saying publicly and privately is what you're saying. And so his intention was there. We know what his intention was. And you guys need those fucking shekels. Like, admit it. Say, we need the shekels. Say, Charlie wanted this, but we don't have the talent Charlie had. And, you know, we got our big payday, but we got salaries to pay. You know, Erika's got fucking big-ass jewelry demands. And so we need the shekels. Just say you need the shekels is all. Say we need to get sheckled.
Wrestle that was going on for months, and it's probably somewhere between the Bibi letter and the text, group text.
I don't even think there's a between about it. I think those are entirely consistent with the exact same worldview.
Yes.
Charlie
no, they weren't. He was writing to Bibi in a way that was gently saying, you know, I don't want to. He said something about his own kvetching, but saying right now I'm getting, you know, hammered from all sides. You guys are losing support here. I can't keep it going, and you guys are going to be in trouble here in America if we don't. You know, you got to wrap the war up. And this is what Megyn Kelly said the same thing. You know, he was like basically begging the guy to you know, do something different in Gaza because we're tired of fucking America's going south on it. And what he said in private was they were, you know, pulling donations because he was criticizing Israel. He didn't give them 100% support, which is a fucked up thing to do. But this is what happens when you take large sums of money from lobbyists, right? And you don't give them what they want. They pull the money out. That's what fucking, they're giving you money to do something and you don't do it, or you do the opposite, and that's what happens. So two different things entirely.
Not hiding things from people. People are going to try to make you fixate on a particular quote or a particular line to make you think that there was something hidden. There was nothing hidden about Charlie's views on Israel. Like, Charlie, I worked with Charlie on every major issue that we talked about, you know, immigration, abortion, the transgender stuff. And he thought about the Israel issue a ton, all the time. It was in the news all the time. People cared about it a lot. He cared about it a lot.
He was on the wrong side of it because you guys took shekels. Admit you took fucking shekels. Look at this fucking guy. These guys are fucking unwatchable, right? And they're saying nothing, and they don't even read the text. Guys should read the text, because read the text where he said, "I'm cutting ties with Israel." That's very specific. Was he cutting ties with Israel? Holy shit! Like, look what you're up against. Let's go back to Candace, because they're getting fucking. You guys got nothing, right? If you look through this thing, they show you the Megyn Kelly thing here, with Charlie and Megyn Kelly, and they're saying these things here. They're finally talking about this, but they want the shekels. And so their whole show was about, this is what Charlie wanted. You brought Erika on and said, these are the things Charlie wanted. This is what we're going to do with Charlie. But, read the text. Read the text where you say you want to bring Candace back on. And so you should bring her back on. That would be great. Like, so you guys have it out over this thing. She can accuse you of Judasing him and money laundering. And you guys can, babble on about nothing nonsensically.
Take that to the bank. Quote me on that. Women tend to have a stronger intuition about people, I would say. I think it was the writer, producer, Conrad Flynn, that recently went on to Tucker Carlson's show, and he discussed that.
Yeah, we need to pass fast forward to that bullshit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we know.
Brad was amazing on that podcast. I gotta have him. He's fantastic.
It's actually really funny because I'm recapping conversations that I've had with Tucker where I'm like, I don't know why you trust that person at all. He's obviously a bad guy. And he's like, really, I like him, but I had a really nice dinner with him. Anyways, obviously what they're accurately describing, I should say, especially between a husband and a wife, definitely my relationship.
Okay, what's going on here? Let's move forward.
Real. They were accusing, deluding themselves into believing whatever was necessary for them not to accept the reality that I was telling the truth. Of course,
Okay,
I was.
Let's go back. This is what's doing here.
There were moments on X where people were, after this text message was revealed, almost like bargaining. Like, please, this can't be.
Oh, yeah, let's go back. This is the thing right here.
Hounding me. She's this, she's that, she's lying. Charlie never changed his mind. He was committed to Israel to the day he died. In fact, he almost died for Israel. That was the vibe they were putting down, and I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier. But self-control always pays off. There were moments on X where people were, after this text message was revealed, almost
Okay,
like.
she started off by saying that like all these people are talking about this on X. And so I don't know where they are, some kind of forum. I don't know how this, whatever. But she's delighting in it, which we'll get back to this thing with these guys. But she had this stuff, right?
Bargaining. Like, please, this can't be real. Let me show you. They're making fake messages themselves. This is how easy it is to make a fake message. That this cannot be real. They were accusing, deluding themselves into believing whatever was necessary for them not to accept the reality that I was telling the truth. Of course, I was telling the truth. Here's just a few of my favorites. This is Village Crazy Lady, who I love, Mel, who was responding to an absurdity that was being presented by Ashton Forbes. Mel said, "These losers are down so bad right now that they are literally using their own attack lines for defense." Ashton Forbes wrote, he's been absolutely maniacal. First off, Candace has no credibility. Second, there's a bunch of Telegram group chat scams that claim to be real people.
All right, so she gets into these things, and she's kind of enjoying the fact that these guys all are playing themselves, and, they made shit up, and then, that of course the texts were real, but these are all these pro-Israeli shows. And we know they'll say anything. Like, they're shameless. Like, they'll go out on a limb, and then the limb will get cut off, and they'll just pretend that everything's fine, right? And so, this is how they roll. But let's go back to those other dweebs here.
Just before the shooting happened, I finished reading, this is a 700-page book about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I read this book because Charlie said, Blake, get really well-versed on this so you can help me whenever it comes up and just know stuff off the top of your head.
Yeah.
I bet that book is written by pro-Israeli piece of shit, right?
I read it for that reason. If you want to know Charlie's views on the Gaza war, he wanted the war to end. He didn't want America to take Palestinian refugees. He was annoyed when people advocated that. He didn't want American troops on the ground there or with any other war.
No one's talking about that, bro. Nobody's fucking talking about this, right? Like, you guys are just not covering this the way it should be covered. The issue was Charlie all of a sudden started to feel the pressure from his audience, who was also Candace's audience and also Tucker's audience. Like, these are people who listen to Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, possibly Joe Rogan, certainly maybe Candace Owens, maybe other people who are all starting to turn on Israel. Like, so all the people that were his peers, people who were a part of that coalition to get the manosphere over to Trump, right? That guy, whatever his name is, all those comedians and all those people who were a part of that. And so people were starting to turn on Israel, and they realized their audience were turning on Israel because they all pander to their audiences. That's a problem they all have. They pander to their audiences, and that's why they're able to retain their audiences, because people want to be told that they're right and all these things. And so he started to question some of these things and say them publicly, and he got immediate backlash. And he was brought up to the Hamptons for an intervention, which Candace Owens talking about. She had this fucking text. What you should have done is come out in front of this text and say, Charlie's dying wish was to say fuck you to Israel. Like, that's what you guys should have came out and said. And you would have had to switch over from, a pro-Israeli audience and Israeli donors to having, like, these other people that have, Candace Owens gets 2 million views per video here. And you'd have to have somebody else come on the show and host the show and talk about how they're failing Charlie. Like, that's what you guys need there. You need someone on your show right now that's saying Charlie's being failed by the government and Trump and all these things. That's what would get you guys views. That would take off your fucking thing. But you don't want to do that. And because you're also probably complicit. What about the audit? You're going to have the audit. She read that thing about him wanting an audit, and you guys have said, yeah, he didn't want that. You guys have all this stuff. This is what Charlie wanted, except the things that are going to hurt you. If you guys are laundering money, you're trying to take over a spot, you're banging his wife, whatever the fuck you're doing over there, right? Whatever you guys are involved in over there, whatever Judas shit you got going on there, like, you should have got out in front of it, but you didn't. Now your show sucks, and you're those fucking dweebs that are going along with the official story and telling everyone who's involved in this that you're crazy conspiracy theorists. I mean, Tucker Carlson had to correct you. And so you lost lots of people then, because those people, most of your people don't believe in the official story. And you don't even know what's going on. Like, you and Erika were talking about reading everyone's emails so you get a perspective of this. Did you get no feedback from any of these people? Of course you did. And so,
And he was upset when he saw stories about churches being damaged or Christians being killed. But at the same time, he recognized Hamas started the war. Hamas could end the war. Israel ultimately represented European civilization. Hamas represented Middle Eastern barbarism. And Hamas were the chief evildoers, and people who supported them were almost always supporting them for these bad,
this has nothing to do with him wanting to cut ties with Israel, who he said was impugning his free speech. And so you think this is going to win your audience back, you dumb fuck? This is not what people want to fucking hear. You guys suck at this so fucking bad. Candace Owens had this fucking email and this text and all this stuff. She has other shit. And she's going to release it. She said she was going to release it. And you guys are waiting till the damage is done, and then you come out here and, like, you look like fucking guilty as fuck. Every time you go out there, you guys are like, well, that was a conspiracy theory. We know these guys, and we didn't take the fucking tape, and we gave it. We doing what the FBI told us to do. We love the government. We fuck Jesus Christ, you guys. I mean, a couple of fucking beta males sharing a fucking testicle with, like, zero sense of what makes a show good. Do you understand what made his show? Why people watch the show? It wasn't this, right? You guys are getting killed here, and even the people watching this are fucking rolling you up in the comment section.
Anti-civilizational reasons.
Yeah.
That's what his view was, and he was public about that. And then, as it continued, Charlie talked to young people all the time. He could see what was going on the internet. He could see among young conservatives there was a big shift to be hostile to Israel. There was a shift.
It's not to be fucking hostile to Israel. Like, again, mischaracterizing that, making them like they're angry young college kids who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Young conservatives were realizing Israel was a piece of shit, that we don't want to give our taxpayers dollars to them, and you guys were taking shekels back. You were stealing from American taxpayers who were giving money to Israel, and Israel then gives this money back through their bogus lobbyist donors, so you don't look like you're taking money from a foreign government, but you were. And so he realized he was going to lose his fucking audience. And he's going to start losing these debates. And people are going to start turning on him in the audience. And all these other people are going in that direction. And he was fucked, right? Because he was taking shekels. And he has a big fucking amount of payroll and shit over there. And you guys are fucked. And so you can't say that. But look at these guys. Look at these motherfuckers.
Big time on the left, but it was also visible on the right. He could tell anti-Semitism was rising in America.
It's not anti-Semitism.
And that's
It's people who don't want to pay for fucking their taxpayer dollars for Israel's bullshit, and Israel being so arrogant, and Netanyahu being a total piece of shit, and them owning politicians and all the shit that's happened. You know, anti-Semitism is a small part of it. There are people who hate Jewish people, yeah, but this was something that wasn't that.
upset him. Charlie was public about this. He loved Israel. He cared about Israel, and he cared about how that.
Well,
and he wanted to give. He wanted to help the pro-Israel movement.
Yeah, and I want to play this. It's long.
Was he saying that when he said he was cutting ties with Israel? When that happened, like that fucking. Why not read the fucking message? You're still not reading the fucking message.
Long clip, but I said something on the Alex Clark show that was, in my mind, completely consistent with Charlie's public views about Israel. And that is something that he also he expressed very publicly on Megyn Kelly. Now, I know this clip has gone viral, but I think it's worth playing again. So here's Charlie in his own words.
Read the fucking message. You're saying that the message is leaked and you're still not fucking reading. It's out there. You can read it. Why not read where he says... read where he says that he was cutting ties with Israel. Let me show you that clip. I have to go back to the video because these motherfuckers won't read it. Like, I don't think it's anywhere here. Let's bring on some other dweeb at the end of this fucking thing. These guys just don't fucking go. Of course they can't get it because they're complicit, right? And so, this is the Kash Patel saying Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide.
Present you proof of what I am saying. This is an actual group chat, which happened 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There were 9 people in total on this chat, including Charlie and Rob McCoy. I'm going to protect the names of the other 7 for now. To be clear, I might actually release a name every day this week, but I want to show you this because suffice it to say, Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view, that he would attack me for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing. Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker.
Okay, so why didn't those guys say that? Why didn't you address that? Because you just had Tucker guest host twice. Why not say that?
I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, ugh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause.
Okay, so we'll just read that. Like, you guys he's not mincing any words. You guys are fucking double talking over there, right? Like, you have to read these things, what he said. This was he's saying he's leaving the pro-Israel cause. And unless you can provide him saying something else, and that makes him look like a fucking, what do they call that when they waffle back and forth, right? What do they call it? Remember they did that John Kerry, a flip-flopper. It makes him look like a flip-flopper, right? Leave me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel lobby. That's all you have to say.
And somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe.
Okay, so, they were wrong on Israel. Like, that's just it. And they're still wrong on Israel. But they did have Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson on their show. So they're not, that's not going to make the pro-Israeli lobby. I'm talking about Turning Point. And so they just so fucking incompetent over there. I mean, Erika was a total disaster. And these 2 guys are just unwatchable. And, she said she was going to release this. She had this thing. And now it's out in the public. You could fucking read it, and you could go line by line and try to dispute any interpretation other than the fact that he said, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israeli lobby. And that he was getting $2 million a year for, for shilling for Israel. He's getting shekels. He was sheckled, and you guys were sheckled. You're probably not even sheckled anymore because you're having Megyn Kelly on and Tucker Carlson on, two of the things that the donors didn't want you to do. Could you suck any worse? This is from a day ago. This isn't even the one. I don't know if she's going to read this again. But she has more shit. She's going to keep on releasing it. And you guys don't even have an audience as it is, right? Like, what's going to happen? How can you allow this to get worse? All right, so I got to stop. It's late. I'm going to go do the 9 o'clock prayer. And I'll continue on tomorrow with this. But, holy shit, this is such a fucking beatdown. This is awesome. I mean, this is great. Whatever. Let's say this is completely 100% staged. It's still great. It's just wonderful. Whatever truth or lies are involved in this, whatever this is really about, whatever the deeper stories are, it is wonderful. Watching them flounder around. This is the kind of stuff I like in terms of the apocalypse. Things breaking down and they're, floundering, and then Candace Owens got her teeth sunk into them. And they don't know how to fucking deal with it at all. Fucking 5 stars. Okay, so let's just it's still Tuesday. I'm going to shut my computer off. I have one more to show you here.
I was briefly in touch with one Elon Musk. Oh, really? You were in touch with Elon Musk on Telegram? Third, if you discount the text messages between Tyler Robinson and his trans furry lover, you cannot take these at face value. Lastly, even if the text messages were...
Okay, so, see, you don't comment till you know this text messages are real or not, right? But to say you're going to discount Tyler Robinson's messages, well, that's all their evidence. That's his confession. That's everything. So you might as well just throw that out, right? So if you're saying that's... Certainly the government would have the ability to fake those things. Discord said that those things didn't exist, and there's a whole big thing. Then Trump attacked Discord, saying they should be investigated because they didn't go along with his bullshit, this thing, right, to frame this kid. There's Patsy. But for them to compare Candace Owens, who had, the ability to, she was friends with Charlie Kirk, so he might send her things, as opposed to the U.S. government framing somebody and all the resources at their disposal, right? This is where these guys are going. And this last thing here, I don't know what he says.
Real. They mean literally nothing related to Charlie's death. I find it scary how Candace is building a literal cult.
Okay, so they don't have anything to do with his death. They deal with how bad Turning Point is deviating from Charlie's wishes, which was cut ties with the pro-Israeli, whatever it was that I said in the thing, right? What I just read, or whichever she just read from that thing. Cut ties with Israel. They're no longer going to be a supporter of Israel. And so the $2 million is kind of relevant, right? That's something, right? That they were upset with him. Motive, for murder. You ever think about that, bro? So this is where they're going. And I don't know if this is just all they want to destroy Turning Point or whatever, the right wing. They're doing a good job because Trump's imploding. His Epstein thing's hanging out there. Charlie Kirk sucks, but people loved him. And that's, they're going to... Turning Point is done, right? It's such a fucking mess. Anyways, I'm going to shut this thing down, and I'll continue on tomorrow. Okay, so let's do a check here. Let's go to this thing first. It's 665 posts. She won't go there. But here's Turning Point. So the leaked messages has 330,000 views. I'll check Candace Owens's. So she had 1,600,000 views, and she's getting regularly 2 million, whatever it is, 1.5 million views. So their 330,000 views is huge for them. So Portland Antifa attacks independent journalist, 10,000 views. Charlie Kirk, the first true Christian martyr, American martyr. It went up to 32,000 views, and I wonder if that was artificial. This was an old video from Charlie Kirk's most viewed video ever, which they reposted. It only has 400,000 views compared to Candace Owens' almost, 1.7 million, right? And so this was a Megyn Kelly where she shows up at an event, and that only gets 1,400 views. So this is what they care about, right? And I read some of the comments yesterday. See if what the comments are here today. They are. It's so sad that Charlie cannot speak for himself. These were things. Justice for Charlie. Again, not believing in the official story. Our country is not the same without Charlie. These are things I read yesterday. These are the top comments. Charlie would fight for truth. So it's basically the same thing. So that's a little bit. I want to show you a little bit more of this and a little bit more of Candace. So they didn't read the text exchange, right? Which was like really stupid because the guy Andrew, whatever his name is, these two low testosterone MNFers, he said he's glad that this is out in the open now, this text exchange, and yet he didn't read it. Like, and the number one piece was what I covered yesterday, which is a part of this video, and a part of my video from yesterday on the 9th, where Candace Owens said this thing about she read the text message where Charlie Kirk said he was cutting ties with, he was no longer gonna shill for Israel, right? Because he's refusing their shekels. And they played this though.
Starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online. How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
Yeah.
So
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side.
So this group chat text, he does say, that he is leaving him no choice but to leave the pro-Israel side. Here's what I want people to know. Charlie said these things.
Why not read exactly what he said, right?
Publicly and privately to us, like that he was frustrated. He would say something like that, and then he would go in a public situation and he would strike a more moderate tone. And we can blow the brakes if we have to.
No, I wouldn't frame it that way. I would say he was frustrated because he didn't like. We can get into this actually once we get past the break here.
Well, no, it's fine. What I'm saying is he would be frustrated, but like the point when I say moderate tone, when he would say something off the cuff, maybe to you or to me or to some other friend, like his public statements, he would kind of strike just a little bit more tender tone, if you will. And so here's the thing. I looked at that moment as like he's just blowing off steam. He's frustrated. He's venting, right? And I just want to say, like, he made that very clear.
Okay, so what you're saying is the more moderate tone was a financial decision, right? Because he was getting shekels. Like it's a business decision, right? Like he's blowing off steam at his boss, right? So, like this is not what people want to hear from you. That you guys are shackled up. Because this guy came out and said Charlie wasn't receiving any money from Israel. Then he comes out, and Candace Owens reads this text exchange, group text, where Charlie says that a $2 million a year pro-Israeli donor is pulling the plug unless he cuts ties with Tucker Carlson. And so, you're saying that he said these things in private because he's whining about his boss, right? These are the people that are funding. He's got a high payroll, $100 million a year business here, and a lot of that money's coming from Israel and pro-Israeli lobby because they were paying people, which we all know. They were paying independent, influencers. They didn't ask me. No shekels for Paulie. I didn't get offered any shekels, right? Where are my shekels? I mean, I did a whole thing on that, like 2 years ago, whatever. But because all these other people are getting offered shekels. But Charlie was the big, he was the big winner. He was going to college campuses and telling college students that they were, fucked in the head for believing that Israel was wrong to commit a genocide. That they had every right to defend themselves on their land that the Palestinian people were just inhabiting because the biblical rights of their land. I mean, he was going in on it he was really sheckling up that motherfucker. Like, no one was more shekels than Charlie Shekels Kirk. I mean, he was the most sheckled. And, they were handing out shekels left and right. And Charlie was, like, he was getting an ocean of shekels. Like, Charlie was he wasn't rolling around in his bed full of shekels. He was swimming in an ocean of shekels, right? He was getting tens of millions of dollars from them. And so, they pulled the plug and they had this meeting and whatever. But Charlie was, starting to say things publicly. Like, no matter what this guy says, Charlie was saying things publicly. Like he said, and I don't know if they did I don't think they did the part where he was, saying these other things. And he was talking about them, like what they were saying, what him and Megyn Kelly were both saying, which is more of an indictment on them, is that they had been the most pro-Israeli people, like Megyn Kelly and him. He just admitted to it. Expect from you, right? Expect from us shills. You're from us. Like, he just flat out admitted it, right? What you guys, we're shilling for you. We're all sheckled up. I'm Charlie Shekels. You guys are going to have to, change your job description from what you expect, because we're going to look like complete idiots, and that's not going to help you out. We're going to have to be able to criticize you a little bit, so you don't expect like 100% approval. That's just silly. And we're going to have to say some things, otherwise we're going to lose any credibility, and that's not going to help you guys out at all. Like, he just admitted to it here, right?
You are losing the PR war. You need to change how you do your PR. You need to change your messaging to the American right. You might need to change what you expect from us, that you're not going to be able to count on just, for example, unlimited military aid from America. That's just not going to be tenable going forward. So maybe it has to be a more passive relationship. Maybe you need to give more support towards America. Some more support towards...
What do you mean? Zero? What do you mean support towards America? You don't give anything. They don't give anything back. They're a country that has nothing to offer. They're a tiny little fucking country. Tucker Carlson dissected all the, that thing, that epic takedown of their, what they are as an economy and what they are as the size of the country, and they don't have anything. They're just a small little nothing economy.
America, and for example, opposing Islamic migration into America. That's one thing he thought we could ally on. And he was trying to do all of this because he cared about the relationship and wanted to chart a way forward on it. And he would feel angry and upset when people would react to this by blowing up and suggesting he was an anti-Semite or a hater. He would get angry about that because he knew it was untrue. And then he would sometimes vent about this. He would vent about this to people who understood that, who were pro-Israel people who shared his view on that issue.
Well, exactly. And just why I, didn't share this publicly, it was because this was a private message between Charlie and some people, some Jews and non-Jews, where he was, frustrated. He was frustrated. And that would have felt like a betrayal to my friend, because he never said anything like that publicly in like a show, right? He said...
Okay, so why wouldn't he say it publicly? Because he was sheckled, right? It's not a betrayal of your friends. It's a betrayal of your fucking business here. Because you guys desperately need shekels, because your show sucks. And it's going to be cut off anyway, because your guy's ineffective. Like, Charlie Kirk was the only asset you have. His wife's a disaster, and you guys suck at this. Your show's tanking, and now it's, you got this little bit of martyr money, and then you're going to have to make some real cuts. Like, they're going to have to go down, trim down to nothing. And they need to get some real talent in here. They got to get some people who can carry an audience. So, we'll finish this up here.
Said things with Megyn that were very, like, we just played them. I went on Alex Clark's show, and I felt like I did a faithful job of expressing what I believed his genuine feelings were. One thing that I'm just, again...
They stopped and edited something out there.
Reiterate, this is an ongoing investigation. There are things that are happening that I don't know about. I also, however, am cognizant of the fact that whatever I say could first of all, it could negatively implicate an ongoing investigation. But I also want you guys to think about, before you press send, before you hit publish, just think about, maybe tainting a jury pool. Maybe the implications could be negative in that way.
You guys all convicted the guy. What the fuck are you talking about? Trump went out and said the guy should get the death penalty. Everyone's talking about like he totally did it. Trump just came out at your thing that was broadcast on your network, and his poor Charlie Kirk's horrible acting wife Erika came out and forgave the guy for killing Charlie. Like, she's saying this guy murdered my husband. Is there anything more fucking jury tampering than that, right? Like, and millions of people saw this. I'm sure lots of people in Utah will be sitting on the jury saw that. And if they buy into her bullshit acting, they're tainted, right? They're, whatever. So, the jury has to make up their own mind. And with social media, there's going to be a shit ton of stuff. And so, like, just stop making fucking excuses. Like, you guys have all convicted this kid, this Patsy. It fucking just, like, you don't want to talk about this. You're told not to. You're controlled. Whatever it is. Like, it's not about fucking tainting a jury. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Another thing I want to say is that when it veers into, attacking some of the people that love Charlie the most and were closest to him, I just want you to, like, have pause and think maybe, there's so many people around here, Blake, that haven't even had a chance to grieve yet fully, right? Because
yeah, you could, because your show sucks. Like, you're not doing any fucking favors to your business here. You're putting out shitty content no one wants to see, right? Like, I want to get to this thing where they're calling it an American martyr because, like, it had like 15,000 views and that doubled. And I don't know why it would double, but so what? Nobody gives a shit about that, and it's not true because he's a political figure, and he was a shill. He's Charlie Shekels. But you guys who are saying hit a pause, you guys have to produce interesting content, and your audience wants to know why and who really killed Charlie. And right now, Israel's the number one fucking target, number one suspect, and Candace Owens is their go-to person for this, and she's sucking up all your audience and energy, and you guys are babbling out like a couple of one-nutted guys, low testosterone beta males. And please, come on, you guys, give us a break over here. Can you give us a break? And like, this was your big video, your 300,000 view video. And, nothing compared to what Candace Owens is getting, nothing compared to what Charlie Kirk was getting. But this was your big moment, and you failed. And Erika Kirk is a disaster. You have no assets. You have no watchable people. And, she might get views, but there's so much like, she's like a target now. For so many different people, so many different demographics are like, I just did on the whole thing. And you've lost all these people, right? So, like, this is, you're imploding right in front of us. Your content sucks. Just hit the pause button, you guys. Come on. Give us a break before you send out a text. You might taint the jury. So, TPSU audience. And, like I meant to say in the beginning when I did the voiceover, we have it's Trump's FBI now. It's not Biden's FBI, right? And so their audience isn't going to believe in the government and the official story, especially one that's so, there's so much information out there. And so these guys saying, hit the pause button, you guys. We don't want to tamper with the investigation, you guys. And these, it almost sounds like a South Park voice. But Candace Owen is like saying evil here, right?
That they have to speak repeatedly. And I wanted the world to truly understand just exactly what it is that we are up against. Okay? People that I deem to be mentally and spiritually evil.
See, this is what she's talking about, right? Like, she's talking about evil. This is the kind of shit these Christians eat up. These dumb fucks, these dumb Fuckistan people who are Charlie Kirk fans. Which do you think they're going to listen to? Like, knowing what you know about the demographics we're talking about, people in the truth community, right-wing truthers, Christian people, Charlie Kirk, Republican people, and just people in general now. Do you think they'd rather hear, come on, guys, hit the pause button. Come on, you put the pause button, you guys. Come on, you guys, hit the pause button. Or would you rather hear, hey, we're up against fucking evil. This is evil. Charlie Kirk was killed by evil. And it isn't one little dude. It's a whole conspiracy here. Which do you think is going to get more attention? Which do you think is like the thing that's more believable, right?
Okay? Evil in the true essence of the word evil. People who knowingly lied, instantly lied, repeatedly lied, and continued to do so without a trace of shame. Okay? Without a trace of shame. I mean that, right? I really do mean it when I say that you have to be someone that is, or maybe rather someone that is possessed by something that is less than human, subhuman, to do that. There's no humanity in you.
Wait, did you actually think that Trump's assassination attempt was real? Given your personality and all these things, or even now? Like, I mean, maybe now, like, you could at least say, like this is, I mean, she's saying that purposely lying, but they all lied about Trump, right? They all were, I mean, pushing a guy that was deeply flawed, right?
That is why I named Josh Hammer. I believe he is a deeply disturbed man. Think about that. Now that you have those messages, okay, let's put this in the context. Just a few hours before I dropped that text chain, Josh Hammer was concerning himself with what he's been doing since Charlie caught the bullet in his neck. He has been spreading lies, saying that Charlie never flinched on Israel, right? Charlie never flinched. Oh, my God, these people like Geddes, they're lying. 48 hours before Josh Hammer was on that text thread. And that did not stop him from keeping up the propagandist effort when he went on a show yesterday, before I dropped the messages, and said this.
Charlie was a close friend of mine, as you know. We actually spoke literally the night before his tragic and untimely death. I was on a small Zoom call with him and a couple others. We were literally talking through this topic. I was giving Charlie advice for how to message on this issue on his forthcoming campus tour. He kind of jokingly mentioned to me, he was like, Josh, I'm going to mention your book, Israel and Civilization, and it's so good. And that was literally our last conversation. It's just so tragic. This letter that he wrote to the prime minister, Chris, I read back in June or July or so. And there were so many people in the aftermath of his horrific assassination, Candace Owens, folks like that, who were saying that, Charlie was turning on Israel. He was ready to sell them out and renounce his life's work of sincere and genuine friendship with the Jewish people and the Jewish state. But this letter that he wrote to Bibi Netanyahu, Chris, literally begins. The first sentence of the letter is, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's a close paraphrase. As a Christian, one of my greatest joys in life is making friendships with the Jewish people and defending the state of Israel. That's literally the opening sentence of this letter.
Filth. Okay? Absolute filth.
Okay, so, I mean, this is bad for them. Because the reality is, everyone's going to believe the text messages because you guys fucking withheld it and you denied this guy was on that text thread. And you're denying that he had a different position. Like now you're saying, well, he felt a couple things and once in a while he'd vent about, his handlers and his bosses over there and he'd vented his Netanyahu. But no, he didn't. He was like fucking saying things that were like, we're ending this relationship, right? And he did it in a way that it certainly was going to become public, right? And 2 days after he said that, he died, and then there was this meeting that you guys keep on, not being honest about, where they were pressuring him and offered him a shit ton of money, which you guys all lied about. They lied about on TPSU. And they were trying to underplay it, right? But, if you should have got out in front of it, because when you don't get out in front of it, then everyone's going to believe, when all these people are saying that these texts were fake and that Candace is full of shit, then you get fucked, right? Like then you look like you're the ones covering it up. You look like the, which you all guys are. Like you guys are all like, there's nothing to see here, you guys. Just believe the official story. Jeffrey Epstein did commit suicide. Come on, you guys, hit the pause button. Like you just look like bureaucrats that are trying to cover up for your so-called friend's murder. I mean, and again, we don't know what happened. Like, as a guy was, I don't even know if there's a real person, as far as I know. It's just video. I mean, I never saw the person in real life, and then I don't know if it was a hologram or, if he's really dead. I mean, all these things are possibilities. Like, I don't give a shit about it. Like, I'm a lucky person in this, that I don't need resolution because I know you're not going to get it. Like, you're looking for something you're never going to get, right? You're never going to get the truth. But right now, in terms of where everybody's at, where the energy's at, it's about that no one believes official story, and that the people that are involved, including Trump and certainly Israel, and certainly Turning Point USA now and Erika Kirk, are all complicit in this, in his murder. And as she said, somebody Judased him. Like Candace is saying, somebody Judased him, right? One of these guys or multiple people Judased Charlie Kirk, and that's what people are going to believe, because that's the narrative you guys laid out, this whole martyr narrative. There has to be a Judas, right? If you're comparing him to a Christ-like crucifixion, assassination, a political assassination, spiritual martyrdom, then he had to be Judas. There has to be a Judas in this thing. And there's, and the story gets better when there's a Judas. Like, why they brought Judas in the Christian tradition, like the Judas part, the betrayal and the suffering and the cross thing and the martyrdom. Like, this is, it's a message that they got people on, and it locks people into this, bullshit belief that Jesus is the only way to get to heaven, and that there is a heaven, right? Okay, so to wrap this thing up, this stuff with any of these things, right? And, makes a difference when you've done this for a while. People wake up, whatever they call waking up, this idea that the system's lying to you all the time. And then you go through these various stages. At some point you reach the left-right paradigm stage where you realize there's no hope, there's no good guys or bad guys, there's no political solution, and there's not really much of a hope just because of the nature of the economic debt and the moral depravity, and then, whatever it is. And it takes you a while to go through, whatever learning and understanding of the thing. And wherever people are, they think that that's where you're supposed to be. Like, people that are ahead of them or who have realized these things before them, when they realize it, they feel like, wow, I just invented the wheel. But, like, no, we've been here for a while, and they don't appreciate that or respect it. Like, that's a weird thing about the truth community. But I can say, it does matter, because if you're moving forward in anything, you're discovering new information, and, you can get stagnant, sure, and burnt out. But if you are moving forward in your understanding of, like, what it is this perception, right? Perception of reality, then it's, time that you put in is important. Practice and things is important. But having said that, it's very easy to make something, question something's legitimacy. It's very easy to poke holes in the official story. Now, most of the time, the official story has got some lies in it, if not just an out-and-out total hoax, right? But even if the thing is real, because everything looks so fake and there's always mistakes made, it's very easy to question the official story. So if the official story is spot on, there's still, you can find things to make it not spot on. But most of the time, it's, a complete psychological operation, performative. And, even if, like, the thing has it's an organic event, the way that it's covered is always steeped in, political agenda and social agenda, that it's always fake. It's always got fake stuff in it. It's always insincere and fake. And so that's easy to figure out. Like, that's the easiest thing to do. Like, once you get over the fact that you are living in a system where your leaders are, like, basically trying to kill you or gaslight you or both, or, whatever, make you sick or make you dumb. I mean, all the things, right? Control you, manipulate you, lie to you, deceive you. Once you get into that, like, that's just the way it is. It's very easy to figure out that most things are bullshit. But what is almost impossible is then to figure out what the truth is, because then you have all these competing theories, and you don't really have access to the data and the information. You're not there. You're trying to figure it out from your computer, based in, combing through the various lies about the thing and all this disinformation that's put out there, counter arguments, various truther things. So you can settle on a narrative yourself and you can feel like and, maybe you do, and probably not. Like in most cases, it's not you can't really call it a fact. Certainly when you're talking to other people, you can't. But either way, without some official authority and slam dunk evidence, and you have a sea of various competing ideas and people out there, it's like impossible to get to the real truth, like in a way that would be satisfying and accepted, because like I said, you can settle on something yourself, and you like have to do that just to close down to move on to something else. Like, all right, nothing more to see here. This is what I think it is. And so there's that. But in terms of consensus or, confirmation from the people who perpetrated the crime, they're not going to admit to it. And even if they did, they're perpetual liars, right? They're, what do they call that thing? Compulsive liars. And so, not just compulsive, they are, they have to lie to keep the system going. So, there's nothing here for it's just always going to be, yeah, this official story is bullshit, and that's about it. Like, this is what I think happened, and then you move on to the next thing, and so you're living in a world without truth, right? In terms of these events, your personal life and your whatever you're doing, there can be truth in it, but in terms of like the overall system, you're living in a world of illusion, and all of our content is illusionary. In terms of movies and TV shows, they're all illusions, right? They've always been illusions. And so, like, there's that part of it that people don't even think about. So, the illusionary world. I saw this horrific movie. I think it's called Playing Dirty or Dirty Tricks or Playing Dirty, something dirty. It's an Amazon movie with Mark Wahlberg. And what they do is they take a fading star with a big name, and they pay him a lot of money or whatever, more money than they would normally make. And that's pretty much the budget, right? So Amazon hires like one name person, like nobody else. You really kind of, people who are bit actors, just lifers. And they, small budget for the cast. Most of the money spent on Mark Wahlberg, who's, not what he used to be in terms of his celebrity status. And they made this shitty movie. And it's like it's almost like they're improving some of the scripted things. It's a movie about, it's a crime movie. This whole thing where you root for criminals, but it's, it's poorly done. But one of the first scenes is Mark Wahlberg is wearing a mask at a robbery, but you can totally tell it's him. Like he's just wearing like a handkerchief, like an old Western thing. And somebody steals some of their money and drives his family onto a racetrack with horses, like fucking running around. And it's the most AI piece of shit AI thing I've seen in a movie. I mean, it's horrifically bad and unrealistic and just unnecessary. And there's just all these AI slop throughout the movie. It's one of the first movies where you can see the AI. There's a movie where it's running through a house, and there's this AI kid playing a drum. And he's so like fake looking. And so, it's just we live in a world of lies. It's just nothing is believable. It gets more and more that case with deep fakes and like everything you see on the internet, videos, don't mean anything. This thing with Charlie Kirk. And so, there's that. So, if you're looking for the truth, then, you don't turn on your computer. Like, you can get information from your computer, but like everything's now so suspect. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get to the comments. I think there's a flat earth comment that actually kind of speaks to this. A lot of these comments they should be grouped together, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to do it in order. Hi, Paul. I'm from a little town called Dumbfuckville. I don't understand why, who, or what is going on, but I'm going to leave a comment because I'm a very special person and my opinion matters. Love your content. Keep on going, sir. That's just basically it. And so, they was responding to some long comment I read. This guy seems to be a shekel taker, laughing my ass off. I'm almost spit my cigarette out of my mouth. Maybe that's a good thing. There's a lot of reactions to the shekel thing. And, I was thinking before I read the comments that it's just a great word. It's funny. And, I was talking about these shekel takers. So that's just got to, the ultra-wealthy Jews outside of Israel are the problem. No state of Israel or their wicked government pockets. You're yet to wake up on this. You're yet to wake up on this. You think that makes you awake? That you think that you thinking that makes you awake, right? The ultra-wealthy Jews outside of Israel are the problem. No, not the state of Israel or the wicked government. Or their wicked government. Pockets, you're yet to wake up on this. That's your threshold for being awake. People are just stupid and silly. The bottom line with all of these things, which is difficult for people to understand, it's hard to accept that everything that is done here is, in a sense, done with God's permission, right? That we've been given freedom of choice, and then there's consequences for those, actions. That everything is done for a specific reason. There's a plan. If there's God, there's a plan, right? So, to think that's, you think you've nailed it, right? Like you have to get into the divine aspect of it. Why people say, why does God let these things happen? Well, God has given you freedom of choice, so that is what you're seeing here. And so maybe you should take your choices more seriously. Collectively and individually, people don't. So, that's why there's a mess here. And so it's like silly to think it's this thing or that thing, or here's the real problem. Like it's like what I said just a moment ago. There's all these things. Oh, here's a long ass comment here. The person writes this. What the fuck is that comment about making time for watching these videos? These videos done in a way that we can just listen to them while we do our chores, etc. around the home. There are other creators I find interesting, but seldom click their videos because they tend to incorporate clips of TikTok, sometimes muted because of music, or sometimes suddenly shouting with shifts in volume. That's fine if I'm folding laundry, but overall, I don't want to stop mid-task to stare at a screen. I want to listen, not watch, and that's why it's my go-to channel when I'm about to do my chores. Yeah, my wife will often be listening to the show, to what I'm doing here. Like I'll walk in and she'll be doing something. And, I listen to other things like this. Maybe when I'm cooking, maybe when I'm outside. Certainly the stuff with Candace Owen, which is hard for me to get through. Like a lot of it I don't care about. And so, it's like a radio show. It's like it used to be an old, 3-hour radio show, whatever it is. I mean, this was to do with that one comment where the person wants me to make shorter videos. I got a lot of comments where people were saying they like this person. Keep the videos long. Chicken stories are funny. Your life stories are interesting, and your detailed coverage of conspiracy theories is fresh. Pure win. It used to be that YouTube put a lot of emphasis behind how long people watch your videos. So it wasn't just, if people clicked on the video, because people were doing like stupid things, they would put clickbait titles that people would click on, and then they wouldn't deliver on what they said it was, right? It was just a whole big, remember the Rickroll? Remember the piece of Rickroll you? And so instead of view count, they started to really lean on how long people watched the video to see how much people liked the channel and valued it. And my watch time was always quite long because, even when I made shorter videos. And so, YouTube doesn't do that as much now because they have to game their algorithms to get rid of more truthful content. But anyways, it used to be something, and now it's not. See if that's the same comment. Boring listening to this dopehead yak about nonsense. And the person right underneath it, because you're totally being forced to listen. It's amazing when people say shit like that. Like, if I listen to something and I don't like it, I don't feel like leaving a comment. It's, people who are looking to complain. The fall of civilization is so absurd. All Paul has to do is say the word shekels, and I can't help but smile or chuckle. What should be a comedy skit if you're faced reality? Officer Tatum and David Rubin are clowns. Tatum said it's okay, soften up. Child, you're arresting with, I guess, I don't know who that guy, I guess that was the other guy there. But anyways, that was mostly a shekels comment. The people on there, I mean, there's such shitty content out there that's just pure shilling. And make the show shorter or get to the point, or your videos also. Only make videos that expose stuff. Stop raving and ranting, Paulie D. Don't fall onto the beta incel trap, buddy. Thanks for some right life advice. There's all these comments where people tell you what to do, but they're not making any content at all. They have no idea what goes into it. And it isn't like this is a professional job. Like, you have a YouTube channel. Candace is a rabid anti-Semite. Tucker and Candace are being propped up by Iran. So that person had left an earlier comment here. Do you know that... Here, let me just make this bigger here. Do you know that they keep on saying Israel because people like Candace keeps blaming Israel? I knew on September 10th that Candace would blame Israel. Brandon Tatum is saying what people like Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, and David Smith and others say. If you read the letter that Charlie sent to Bibi, the letter was about how Israel could win the PR war. Candace is a FOS. Is, I don't know, full of shit. Candace wanted to be Mrs. Charlie Kirk. Like when you leave comments like this, it's two in a row where you're clearly shilling. I mean, I don't think Tucker and Carlson and Candace Owen are legitimate, whatever they are, whatever they are. Like whoever that's funding them, whatever's going on there. But funding by Iran, like that's what you're going to say when, Israel is so... I mean, there's so many people have come forward and said Israel offered them money, or pro-Israeli lobby offered them money to say nice things about Israel. Like they have American taxpayer dollars that they can spend on bribing Americans to, keep up the facade. I've watched you for years. This is the comment I want to get to. I've watched you for years. You're obviously a smart man. Till the spinning ball shit. You're kind of a dick. Do some fucking homework on the subject. So somebody thought that I was smart. And they listened to me for years. But then I didn't agree with them on false flat earth. And then I became a dick, right? Because that makes you a dick when you don't agree with the stupid flat earth theory. But the flat earth theory is a prime example of what I was just talking about earlier. And that is, you can put energy into debunking something, like the round earth theory. Whether it's true or not, you can just come up with things that sound true. Like you can, or believe that are believable. You can find evidence, you can find things. But the flat earth model does not work at all. The flat earth model comes from the stupid-ass Old Testament and the Bible. Like if you were going to say, all right, the earth isn't round, then that doesn't mean it's flat. Like all their energy goes into disproving the round earth, right? And they are, usually almost always Christians who buy into the Old Testament biblical shit. So, it's been disproven years and years ago. The flat earth model doesn't fucking work. Like when people lived in their own little areas, it totally was believable that it was flat. You know, before people traveled, before people knew there were time zones, before people knew all kinds of things, that the sun was, you know, why was the sun, like it's like a minute, it's a minute more or a minute less every day. Right now, because we're heading into the, you know, to the winter equinox, which gets the least amount of sun. Every day it's like a minute and something less a day of sunlight, right? And you're like, well, how does that work with the flat Earth spinning around a mobile theory? It doesn't work. They have no explanation for that. This is an illusion. Third dimensional reality is illusionary. It seems physical and concrete, and your soul is abstract. So that seems like more of a, since you can't see, touch, taste, or feel your soul, that seems like harder to prove than that your body is real, right? It seems like your body is more real than your soul. You know, your senses are there, and your senses can see, touch, taste, feel things, and your soul doesn't apply to any of those things. So how are you going to believe in a soul, right? But your soul is your real essence, and that is the real existence. This is a temporary, illusionary existence that you have here. And so there's that, but it isn't the theory of the flat earth that is the problem. It's the flat earthers themselves. Like, here's a person that thought I was smart and insightful, but it was a deal breaker that I couldn't get on board with their flat earth bullshit, right? And so, you know, why wouldn't you say, well, maybe this person is fairly, you know, they're always right about stuff and fairly reasonable and practical person. Maybe this flat earth theory is full of shit. And the flat earthers are the worst. Like, they were only out annoyed by the Fubies, by the QAnon people. But a lot of the QAnon people are also flat earthers. And they just wreck the truth community. And, you know, people know what I'm talking about. When the flat earthers and the Cubies, you know, every time you showed up and said something, they would show up and, like, they would have to say something. Like, I had some flat earthers where it was just like, I like what this guy says. I'm not going to say anything about flat earth. We just disagree on that. But no, you know, the 90% of them have to say something. Even if it's something that, like, it just hints that you believe in round earth. And the Cubies were the same way. And they were completely wrong. And they, you know, just the Cubies, all the stuff that they did, right? When people try to mock the truth community, they bring up flat earth and they bring up the QAnon people because it's just stupid and just ridiculous, and it's the behavior issues that are the problem. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramano, definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.